from the Rafters of Rupp is brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop, Double Dogs, Friends of Coal, Hunt Brothers Pizza, and by Kentucky Farm Bureau.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Season 7 of From the Rafters of Rupp. I'm Kyle Macy. This season I sit down with former Kentucky legends that have not made their way to the rafters yet, but have had an incredible influence on the program. From all-time category leaders to national champions to a man that used a pen instead of a basketball. This season I'll be interviewing 5 men that left an indelible mark on Kentucky basketball. So sit back and enjoy the next 30 minutes of From the Rafters of Rupp, Kentucky basketball legends. Our first Kentucky legend this season is Bob Guyette. Guyette played for the Cats from 1971 to 1975. Guyette is from Ottawa, Illinois, a town about an hour and a half from Chicago. He played his high school ball at Marquette Academy and is the program's leading scorer and rebounder. His senior year, he averaged 32 points and over 20 rebounds a game.
Ottawa was kind of an ideal little town, probably a lot like yours, Kyle, a small town, Midwest, Illinois, Indiana. It was a river town, the Fox River, the confluence of the Fox and the Illinois River right in the middle of town. Not a lot going on, farming community, but still a lot of beauty. And from an excitement standpoint, it was high school basketball. Like Indiana, like Illinois, Iowa, and some of these Midwest towns, it was when the high school team was good, it was an exciting time and great place to grow up. The movie Hoosiers has been out for a while, but it was that kind of experience where when we went to the state tournament, we drove in a little yellow bus down to Champaign, and as you look back, there'd be car lights as far as your eye could see. So it was a great time.
Playing at such a high level in Illinois was enough to get the attention of Kentucky.
Soon thereafter, I met Coach Hall. Coach Hall came multiple times to watch some games, and we met with him. And then towards my senior year, Dr. Singletary, who was president of the university, came. There's some professors from the School of Dentistry. Dr. Ellinger flew in one time. Coach Rupp then finally came my senior year, and that was a big event for a small town like Ottawa, Illinois. They flew in from Lexington, some weather issues or whatever, had to land in different airports. So he didn't actually get to the game until about midway through the first quarter. And so, we're playing the game. It's on the road, a little town called Marseilles, close to Ottawa. And maybe 2 or 3 minutes into the game, all of a sudden the referee grabs the ball, blows a whistle, puts it under his arm. We're out there on the floor looking around, and all of a sudden I look in the stands and everybody's standing up, and I try to look around and see what's going on, and there's Coach Hall and Coach Rupp and Doc Singletary. They're making their way in their stands, and everybody starts clapping, and there was about a 4 or 5 minute delay in the game until Coach Rupp sat down, and then finally we went back and finished the game.
After such a successful senior year, Guyette was named Mr. Basketball in Illinois. He wouldn't be the only Mr. Basketball joining the Cats that year. His class would earn the moniker of the Super Kittens.
My recollection is Mike Flynn was Mr. Basketball in Indiana, Jimmy Dan Connor here in Kentucky, and then Kevin Greavy in Ohio. So yeah.
Even with the amazing recruiting class, rumors lingered that Coach Rupp might step down as the leader of the Cats.
That was one of the questions I had, and we knew Coach Rupp was getting up there in age. It was just a matter of time, and I knew there was going to be a transition at some point that during my career at Kentucky. And so that was one of the questions that I asked. I asked Dr. Singletary, frankly, and what's going to happen when Coach Rupp retires. And although he couldn't tell me, he made it sound like, Coach Hall would be in the running for that position. And so, as I got to know Coach Hall and such, I felt comfortable with that. So if that were to occur, I would be fine with that.
What made the eventual transition from Coach Rupp easier was Coach Hall coached the freshman team, and those Super Kittens, those were some competitive practices.
We started off with Coach Hall as our freshman coach, and so we got to know him from day one. And during that year, that Coach Rupp's last year, we got to know Coach and the players because we would practice against them most every day. So it was a freshman team, the Super Kittens, which obviously the upperclassmen didn't like that at all, and that name, and so there was very competitive practices. And then we would start and we'd play a scrimmage, sometimes 30 minutes, sometimes 45, sometimes an hour. And and we wanted to beat them so bad. And in fact, we did, I think, a bunch of times. And that didn't make Coach Rupp happy. And of course, our upperclassmen weren't happy with us either. So we really didn't care too much.
We'll be right back with more of my conversation with Bob Guyette after these words from our sponsors.
For those on the go, the smoothie connoisseur, the break room favorite, and for those that just never quite have it all, Clark's has what you need to keep your day on track. Make life easier and keep your busy schedule moving forward with everything you need at Clark's. Clark's Pump and Shop. Return, refresh, refuel.
Fresh, tasty, savory. Double Dogs is a great place to eat. Whether you like sports or you just like great food, from pizza to salads to burgers to our legendary fried pickles. Double Dogs. In a single word, delicious.
In March of '72, Coach Rupp was forced into retirement at the age of 70. At the time, this was the mandatory retirement age for University of Kentucky employees. For Guyette and other members of the team, it was tough to see the Baron of the Bluegrass retire.
We were sad to see him go. I loved going into his office here at Memorial Coliseum, and he would talk and tell stories, and I very much enjoyed that time. He is certainly the reason why I was initially interested in Kentucky and the program he built, the reputation he had, and the excellence and the history. So I just wanted to be a part of that, and had an inkling that Coach Hall would be taking over, and I was fine with that.
After moving up to varsity his sophomore season, Guyette learned quickly he had to earn his spot on the team that went 20-8, including an SEC championship.
That was a transition year for me. There were some good players that were ahead of me that I was competing for, a starting position. I felt in my own heart, my own mind, I'm a starter here at Kentucky from day one, and that's what I wanted to do. There was a guy in particular, a local guy from Kentucky named Larry Stamper, who was about my size and just a very strong, tough kid. So we battled it out every day in practice. I mean, the games were so much easier than the practices just because we were fighting for that same position. And that's honestly why I think Kentucky is a good program. There's a lot of people competing for the job. You have to be on your A game. And so we all felt that, the NCAA championship trophy should be here in Lexington.
Heading into his junior season, Guyette quickly realized his optimism would turn to disappointment as the team just couldn't quite gel.
It led for a bit of a difficult year. We were all playing a little bit out of position, and although we played a lot of games close, we had an awful year from Kentucky standards, and I think went 13-13, I think, and didn't make the tournament, and so it was a very disappointing year for all of us. We felt that we were better than what we showed on the court.
Prior to his senior season, Guyette, Coach Hall, and the team recognized they needed to be better together on and off the court. Coach Hall decided to take the team to Haiti and Australia for 19 exhibition games.
And we were going to have a good team. We were all resolved to that after having a 13 year my junior season. And we brought in, had a good, really good recruiting class with Jack Givens and James Lee and Rick Roby and Mike Phillips. And so we knew that we had some new talent coming in. But you know what it did. I mean, and we were playing the Australian national team. Most games were a fight. It was in their hometowns. The referees were awful. We were traveling in a van and 2 station wagons, and so we got to know each other very well. And so a lot of ups and downs. But 19 game schedule. During that time, we got in a few fist fights with the other team. We had, we were staying with families every night, so we tried to be nice to them and thank them for taking care of us. But it kind of wore us down, but it also brought us together. And I think that coming off of that trip, coming back to the States and getting ready, having a month off or whatever, and getting ready for the season, I think it was huge. We really knew each other at that point, and spending those extra time not only on the court together, but just getting to know each other. I think. And that chemistry, and the bond that developed even further, it really helped us.
After the exhibition trip, Guyette and his teammates saw the potential of the 74-75 team. They also knew that Jack Givens and the other freshmen would be a big part of that potential.
We recognized that if we were going to have a championship caliber team, that we needed them to. So I think they got off a little bit easier than we did, because we were pretty much hated throughout our whole freshman year by the upperclassmen. We weren't quite that hard on these guys, and they really came along pretty quickly for young players, for freshman players. And so by the time tournament time rolled around, for the most part, we could count on them to come in and play well.
We'll be right back with more of my conversation with Bob Guyette after these words from our sponsors.
When she rolled up, I was shook. Like the fit was giving main character energy, no cap. And I was being like real extra, Exactly. It's whatever.
It may be difficult to understand everything your teenage daughter is saying, but with a Kentucky Farm Bureau agent in every county, at least it's easy to get great insurance. Kentucky Farm Bureau, big on commitment.
Oh snap, what's the 411? Hashtag cool dad.
Dad.
The coal industry's had a big impact on my life. My grandfather was a coal miner, my father was a coal miner. Coal is the largest driving force in our local economy. Have you ever wondered why developing countries don't have the same water and air quality we do? That's because affordable and abundant energy dramatically improves environmental quality and climate safety. I want that for my daughter and her kids as well. That's why I'm a friend of coal.
Things were rolling along during Guyette's senior season. A mid-season clash with Indiana would be a huge test, but a moment between Coach Hall and Coach Knight would be remembered as one of the wildest scenes in Kentucky basketball lore.
First of all, at IU is one of the more difficult places to play. Huge rivalry. Coach Bobby Knight, inciting everyone around, the fans and us, and they were very good. They were undefeated that year until later on in the season. They lost one game. But what I remember most is during the second half, and we were down by maybe 3 or 4 points, still pretty close game, and there was a call that one of the referees made. Coach Hall got up and went to the scorer's table and was complaining about it or talking to the scorer and the head scorer. And after a few minutes, I turned around, I was on the floor, saw Coach Knight come up and stand next to Coach Hall, and pretty soon there were words going back and forth. And then next thing I saw Coach Knight trying to just smack Coach Hall in the back of the head, and Coach Hall's glasses went flying, and we're going, wait a minute now, this is crossing the line. And we had one of our assistant coaches named Lynn Nance, who had been a previous college player and I think spent time in the CIA or FBI or something. He was one of our assistant coaches. He jumped out there at center court and he got down in the stance and he was going to take Bobby Knight on right there in the middle of the assembly hall or whatever they call that there in Indiana, and the place was going nuts, and that finally settled down. They went on, beat us 10, 12, 15 points. It was bad.
Like the old adage, what goes around comes around, The Cats would meet the Hoosiers again, but this time in the NCAA tournament.
You know, it's funny how those kind of things happen, because come back to the end of the season, we're playing them for the Mideast Regional Championship and the right to go to the Final Four, and that was not lost on us, all that what happened. So I think that had an influence on how we played and the ultimate outcome of that game. As I look back on it, I think that was probably one of Coach Hall's best coaching games that I had seen him do. I remember walking into the locker room before the game. First of all, we were all hyped all week long. I mean, that's all we want. We want to play IU. We knew we could win. I think we were playing better and better and better. And they had a great team, and they were 32-0 or whatever the record was. And so before the game, he got up on the chalkboard and he wrote something to the effect of. After the game, bus leaves at 5:20. We're going to stop here for dinner. We're going to driving back to Lexington. There are going to be people lined up along the side of the road on both sides, as far as I can see. And he wrote all these things down, and we're just looking at him writing these things. He didn't say anything. He just wrote all that down. And he said, "Boy, this is what's going to happen. We're going to win tonight. We're leaving here. We're going to get something to eat there. We're going to drive back to Kentucky. But when we hit the Kentucky State line, there'll be people lined up on both sides of the road." And that's exactly what happened. But that game was as exciting and such. I mean, it was a 92-90 game, no overtime, no three-point shot. It was up and down. There were fist fights. It was as intense a game as I've ever played in, and they were ready too. And they were ready, but it just wasn't going to happen. And so it was a great feeling getting through that. It was a great feeling beating them, and getting ready to the Final Four, which is what we had all planned on from the time we had gotten to Kentucky as freshmen.
The 75 Cats reached the Final Four and would defeat Syracuse in the national semifinal game 95-79. In the championship game, Kentucky would face mighty UCLA, winners of 9 national championships. This game meant even more, with Coach John Wooden surprising everyone prior to the game that the title game would be his last. The Wizard of Westwood would either leave as a 10-time champion, or Kentucky would dethrone the Bruins from basketball royalty.
It was a total surprise. It came out of the blue. He had as we all know, a huge run of success as coach at UCLA. He wasn't that old. He was, mid-60s. So that announcement, I think, took everyone by surprise. So we didn't have a lot of time to think about it, but, we're still playing for the national championship. We like our chances. We like our team. We beat Indiana, who was number 1 all year long, and a very tough game, and we thought we had the team to win. I think for us, we were ready. I don't think it affected us as much as I think it really hyped UCLA. I think they played as good as maybe above what their talent level was. They certainly didn't want to have coach go out and lose. And I do think that it affected the officials. I mean, maybe not on a conscious level, but on a subconscious level. And there were some calls during the game, and although it was a close game back and forth, and we had our opportunities to win it and could have, it's human nature, and so I think that it did have some impact.
We'll be right back with more of my conversation with Bob Guyette after these words from our sponsors.
Hunt Brothers Pizza has been proudly serving communities across America for over 30 years. Download the Hunt Brothers Pizza app to find one of our 8,000 locations inside a convenience store near you. Choose from Hunt Brothers Pizza's original crust or thin crust, then customize your pizza with any of our 10 toppings to choose from at no extra charge. With that many options, there's sure to be a topping combination for everyone to enjoy a Hunt Brothers Pizza. Call ahead and order yours today.
It's hard to believe it's been 45 years since I put this net around my neck to win the national title. We're coming out with 78 Legends Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. This bourbon was resting in the barrel back when we won the title. We're so excited to bring this expression to our Kentucky fans and our bourbon collectors.
Even though Guyette and his teammates came up just short of winning a championship at Kentucky, he left the program knowing he had a great career, but he won a bigger prize while in Lexington.
It was just a great career. I'm very blessed to have played here at Kentucky, and I did have some other options, as did everyone who plays here had, but I'm glad I selected Kentucky. And I met Gina. It was my junior year. She was a sophomore, and and that developed over a period of about 6 months or so. We started dating, and very blessed. That's probably the best thing that came out of Kentucky was my wife, Regina.
After college, Guyette had several options. He was drafted by both the Kansas City Kings and the New Jersey Nets, but decided to play in Spain professionally. He played in Barcelona for 5 seasons. During the 76-77 season, he averaged a league-leading 34.6 points per game. Unfortunately, back problems led to Guyette's retirement from the game. That injury led him back to the Bluegrass, where he would enroll at the University of Kentucky Dental School. It was something he'd wanted to do for a while.
I knew I wanted to kind of go that path. My sister was a dental hygienist, also a registered nurse, and that's what I kind of thought I wanted to do at that point. So I started in dental school at Kentucky, and it was a very good experience. But I knew early on that I didn't want to do general dentistry. I got exposed to a specialty called oral maxillofacial surgery, which is basically major reconstructive surgery of the face for trauma, congenital deformities, and then aesthetic reasons and such.
Guyette would go on to graduate from UAB Medical School and head to Scottsdale, Arizona to start his practice. He would realize that the skills he learned as a Wildcat would echo throughout his life after basketball.
The disciplines of step by step by step, of pushing beyond, when you get tired, to continue going, to achieve some success and be able to handle that, to have failure, to lose games, how you bounce back, 2 days later and 3 days later, and have the energy and such to. I think in life in general, how the systems are set up to prepare and to perform. I think it crosses the border from being a pilot to running nuclear power plants to playing basketball to being a surgeon to all those. They're very similar, more similarities than differences.
Bob Guyette's life after Kentucky has been special. He's had his marriage, his 3 sons, his medical practice, and his memories as a Wildcat.
We have a lot of good friends in Phoenix. We talk about that a lot. How do we find the time to do the things we want? We try to think about that every day. When we're doing the right thing and we're spending our time in the right way, because it is a busy life. And one of the things I'm very blessed to have is that I work with Gina every day. I'm on the phone with her 4 or 5 times a day, talking about different issues related to my practice, to her business, to things we have going in common. We travel together. We go visit our kids. We have grandkids now. We have our 5th one on the way. 2 of them are in Scottsdale, so we see them a lot. There's a 3-year-old girl, Bentley Grace, and then we have a 1-year-old boy. And so whenever we can, we babysit for them. They're a blast, and we take them. Gina started a thing called Cousins Camp. So once the grandkids get potty trained and want to come stay with us, we have some on the East Coast. Rob, my oldest one, is test potty. He's on the East Coast. So once they get potty trained, and they come once for a week in the summer to Cousins Camp. And so as the kids get older, we're going to go to Disney, and we've done different things, and so. That's a lot of fun too, and when we go to Europe, try to go every year for different things like this year. I still remember that running out through that gate onto the floor, playing the Kentucky Fight song, just running out to that floor and feeling that emotion and that energy that you feel from the fans and your own expectations, the butterflies in your stomach, and wanting to live up to that level. It was just a special experience that I know you felt, and all of us who've come through these halls, and we'll remember that forever, I'm sure. I hope that they remember me as someone who took it seriously, that did their best, that was a fighter, that played hard, and was a team player.
Guyette would go on to design the Silhouette nitrous oxide delivery system. This was a revolutionary way to deliver nitrous oxide. It was more comfortable for patients and allows doctors to perform dentistry or facial surgery even better. The Silhouette is available for patients worldwide. He's also board certified by the American Board of Oral and maxillofacial surgeons. He was inducted into the Illinois Basketball Coaches Association Hall of Fame in 1982. Bob Guyette doesn't have his jersey in the Rafters of Rupp, but he left his mark on Kentucky basketball. Guyette and his teammates came up just short of capturing another title banner. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Until next time, when we hear more tales from the Rafters of Rupp.
From the Rafters of Rupp was brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop, Double Dogs, Friends of Coal, Hunt Brothers Pizza, and by Kentucky Farm Bureau.